Hello. Why should women dressing up as Greek goddesses and an actress quoting somebody called Vernon Jordan have any relevance to the demise of President Trump? I'm going to reveal all. Look, first of all, I have to tell you, I made a long video about all the Oscar costumes. I found a page in Vogue that gave 113 photos and I did a take on all of them. The video took me ages to record. It lasted 2 hours. I spent all of this morning cutting it down to an hour. And so the whole thing's taken me 2 days, and I looked at it and I didn't like it. So it's a complete waste of my time. And I realized, now, some of the dresses were really ridiculous. Some of them were quite nice. Some of them were really nice. And I would like to talk about them to you. But the point is, the whole thing seemed like it had had the heart kicked out of it. There was no sense of fun or joy. And I think nothing could be more obvious in how the Oscars has descended from being an entertainment extravaganza into a bleak and prescriptive well-dressed lecture than the in memoriam section, which was delivered by Angela Bassett. And here, look, I'll play you some of that, and you can see what I'm talking about.
We exist temporarily through what we take, but we live forever through what we give. In 2020, we were united by loss. As of April 25th, 2021, there were recorded over 3 million souls lost around the world to COVID alone. Considering the enormity of our collective loss and the often incomprehensible times we're living through, we wish to also acknowledge those precious lives lost to the violence of inequality, injustice, hatred, racism, and poverty. To all of those who left our lives too soon, we cherish the moments that we had the honor of having with you. Tonight...
Okay, all right. That's enough, love. You can go now. Yeah, that's all right. Don't call us, we'll call you. What was all that about? Was this a celebration of their lives? No, it was a terror of racism and loss. What was she auditioning for anyway? I mean, this was just dripping with insincerity. Very annoying. And then, as I said, the Greek goddess dresses. Now, I'm going to start running the dresses, you know, at the side, and you'll see what I mean. Some of them are very nice. Some of them are not so nice, and one or two are complete disasters. But the point is, they all have this one thing in common. They look like Greek goddesses. Now, why would that happen? Well, there are two reasons, and one of them might be a practical one. For a start, the actresses would have to, they would not be able to go to the dressmakers because of, you know, various quarantines. And when you're doing a very structured dress, when you are being measured up for a very structured dress, you have to actually be there. The dressmaker, when it comes to the sort of corsetry that I saw in the last video I made, that would have required the dressmaker to take inch by inch measurements of the actress's body. But they couldn't do that in many cases. So they decided to go for loose fittings and folds. And that's reasonable, although it has exposed a lot of the actresses to showing exactly how imperfect they are, which could have been disguised by a lot more, you know, foundation garments. Okay, that's the first thing. But the second thing is, why why the Greek goddess thing? Why did this happen? Because there were so many of them. I mean, there were some who weren't that shape, but there were many who were. And it was sort of odd. And I thought, you know how I keep saying fashion is a symptom of it's literally a material expression of the psyche of a society. And when you see a society, for instance, where the fashion hasn't changed for 300 years, you know that's a static society. You don't need any other information than if women have been wearing the same style of dresses for the past 300 years, you know that society is not progressing, because changes in fashion change more quickly as society develops and innovates more. It just happens like that. You take a look at the history of our own countries, you know, Britain, America, Australia. You see how things have changed so quickly. And of course, all you guys in France and Germany too. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to exclude you. But the Western world, yeah. And then, so fashion is an expression. But why do they choose godly costumes? And I think that is partly an expression of how Hollywood sees itself. That woman, Bassett, she wasn't encouraging us to remember the actors who died or the filmmakers who died. She was telling us to beware of death, that we were surrounded by death, and she included that with racism, which had nothing to do with the in memoriam. And she also quoted a black civil rights worker, again, ignoring the hundreds of years of English tradition, which most of the country, still an 80% majority white country, isn't it, should have as part of their basic philosophies. And I might say Vernon Jordan, I looked him up. He worked with Bill Clinton and John Kerry, not what I'd call a stellar group of friends. And so, no, a tainted person, to my mind, and she's quoting him. And there's something wrong. Well, I hope you're enjoying looking at these dresses, because that's my take on the Oscars. It's the dying gasp, because they know, you know, I can see that there's no fun in this anymore. They know that their star quality, their godlike quality, and I haven't heard of half of these actors and actresses. Their names mean nothing to me anymore. I went through this whole list. I maybe knew about, there were 113. I knew about maybe 20 names. And maybe a bit less. And that's because they know, they are telling us what to do. They have decided they know better than us. They are no longer the servants of the people, entertaining us and just being our laugh a minute, our cry, our emotion, you know, our release from our everyday world. They are not that anymore. They are the people who get together with the media and they join together and they bring down a president because they reckon we don't know enough. Well, I'm not an American voter, but you know what I mean. We don't know enough to know that Trump, Orange Man, bad. And they do. They know better. They can tell us that when we're thinking of the dead, we've got to think about racism and prejudice and all the sort of things like this to keep us in line. Well, it's not washing. And they're dressing up as goddesses now because they're trying to reassure themselves they really are goddesses. And they're not. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.